Hey everyone, Anark here, and this is another Anark live stream. Did I get it? Let's see. Did I do the thing? Oh, I did the thing. I got it. See, I'm getting so good at this. I'm like a live streaming master or something. Who knows how this even happens? Okay, now for that other part where I have to like invite people to the live stream and all that. You know how it goes. Let's see, gotta go in here, grab the thing, do the thing. All right. All right. So people have been invited. I think that counts. I think that's enough. I got this going. Ah, people are starting to show up already. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. So what I plan on doing, I think I got like a sort of schedule for the channel coming together now. I think what I'm going to do is the first week of every month on Friday, I'm going to live stream. And then on all of those following Fridays, I'm going to release videos, right? I'm going to release those like Anarch Abridged or Anarch Responds or whatever. And that's how I think I'm going to proceed scheduling the channel. I think, as you all know, I don't necessarily stick by whatever schedule I set. And then on Mondays, I will release like short little clips. So that's my plan. Yeah, as somebody has noted here, the bandage off my hand is yeah, no more bandage on my hand. I still have the little spots. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I think I've developed a couple scars from it. But all healed up, everything's good. Anyway, glad to see people showing up already, and viewership is rising quickly. So yeah, I think people should know that on Mondays when I release those short clips, those are clips from my live streams. So if you are watching this live stream, or if you're watching any of my live streams, I'd like to encourage you to comment beneath the live stream in the comments below with like time tags for places where I've like answered questions that you think are interesting. You like my sort of rambling responses, because those time tags have been how I've generated all of the clips that I've been posting on Mondays so far. So those are an enormous help for me. If y'all could keep doing that, I'd appreciate it greatly. That's been fantastic for the channel as well. But yeah, also, you know, if you just want to go back even to old live streams and watch those and you know, time tag places where you thought the responses were interesting, that would be super helpful for me. Also, I want to say, if you want me to be able to continue doing these live streams, you want me to be able to stick to this schedule that I've set for myself of releasing, I guess that makes it like 8 pieces of content every single month, you should go over to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Anark, and become a patron for any amount. And that's $2, $5, $7, $10, or $20. Any of those amounts would be enormously helpful for me. And they also get you access to my Discord server. So I should also just note, if you join the Patreon and it doesn't auto invite you through the Discord bot, just send me a DM on Patreon and I will send you a link to the Discord, because sometimes we turn off the Discord bot because it re-invites people who have left the server, and that's pretty annoying for them. So yeah, that's essentially what's going on with that. In any occasion, glad to see you all here. How's everybody doing today? Go Revolution says, Ayo, I went ahead and made that channel for Anarch Shorts. I think I might have seen those. I think I stumbled across it in a weird way where I searched for Anark on YouTube just to see what popped up when I searched my name, because there just so happens to also be like a corporation called Anark. And I was trying to see where I was in the YouTube search algorithm. And when I typed it, your shorts popped up. And I was like, what is really? People have made shorts of my content and I didn't even know about it. So I think I already stumbled across those. I think I already was like liking them and stuff. So Nolan Balcom asks, hi, Anark, about to get back to work, so we'll have to catch the VOD later. And so for my listen later, I wanted to ask if you have any thoughts about the organization Palestine Action effectiveness / ideas. I'm not familiar with the organization called Palestine Action. So unfortunately, that's my answer to that. I'm not really sure what their approach is, so I couldn't really make any commentary on that. William Ham asks about Herbert Marcuse's One-Dimensional Man. I've actually not read One-Dimensional Man. However, I have heard numerous people who were influenced by One-Dimensional Man. Murray Bookchin is one of them. Also, my partner, Iridescence, or Iris, was reading One-Dimensional Man at one point. And I've heard numerous other people who have read One-Dimensional Man and found it very informative. Long Defiant says, I'm paying my rent, so a little sad. Yeah, I feel that. I just had to pay all my bills, and there went all my money. Excuse me. You see a kitty back there? Yes, indeed. I am fostering Sonia's kitties again for a little while, and I'm always glad to have them over here. I'm like their uncle at this point. She like brought them over and she sat the carrier down in the floor, and we opened up the carrier and they came out and they were like, oh, I recognize this place. And they settled in real fast. Apple of Newton says, I'm a fresher in here. I'm reading Anarchist FAQ. Can you suggest something more? Actually, Anarchist FAQ is very, very comprehensive. I think that is actually a really great place to start. I don't have a lot of criticisms of it. That being said, if you are looking for something that is, more based in like a historical theory, then maybe you should read like Anarchy by Malatesta or an Anarchist program, or, and I almost always recommend it, Anarchism and the Black Revolution by Lorenzo Camboa Irvin, which I consider to be one of the best anarchist theory texts of the modern era. Bea says, thoughts on large-scale anarchy? Is it possible? How would it work? Yeah, no, I think it absolutely is possible. I think the model I set out in After the Revolution is probably a good way to think about the basis of what would take place in a large-scale sort of anarchic polity, and gives you an idea of how it might scale up. However, I should note that After the Revolution is probably not what I would call anarchy, in the sense that I don't think that in that description, we've eliminated all hierarchical power structures. Instead, in After the Revolution, I would describe that as an anarchic society. So we essentially have a society that has built a system which is constantly countervailing hierarchical power structures, but I don't think they have been absolutely diminished in that description. Nonetheless, if you combine the insights in After the Revolution with what I talk about in parts 2 and 3 of A Modern Anarchism, I think you can see how we could move towards a global anarchy. And it would take some time, and it would take an enormous amount of revolutionary activity. However, it is indeed possible. So those are the places I would point you to understand the answer to that question. Turbo Queer also adds, what is Communist Anarchism by Alexander Berkman is a big one for me. Good 101 book on anarchism. Yeah, it is. In fact, I think I've also seen it variously being published as the ABCs of anarchism. What about Anarchy and Communism by Caffiero? Caffiero is really great. I've liked pretty much everything I've read by him. I think I've read that one. The one that comes to mind that I recall reading by him was Our Revolution, which I thought was kind of funny because that's, of course, what the PAC for Bernie Sanders was. But, Caffiero was laying out an anarchist revolutionary conception in Our Revolution. Jacob says, hi, one of my anarchist friends accused me of hypocrisy because I'm interested in anarchism, but my parents recently bought me an apartment and I kind of feel guilty now. What do you think? I don't really see the hypocrisy. I don't understand. Is it just they're saying that your parents are well off and that's hypocritical that your parents are well off? I don't think there's any problem with that. Anarchism actually says that you should rely on those around you. Anarchism is a philosophy that is based around solidarity, equality, freedom, and the coordination of people's powers together. So your parents helping you out, that's very anarchistic. I don't see a problem there. I mean, if they're just pointing out that you're like in a relatively privileged class position, that's not really hypocritical. That's just what you were born into. And you are not required to sort of like denounce the help of your parents because you hold an anarchist political ideology. I think people really get confused about what it means to be an anarchist in the world. Anarchism does not mean you have to renounce all connections to the world. It does not mean you have to be some kind of like religious ascetic who, lives on the streets and doesn't have an income and doesn't pay for things. This is what I call lifestyleism, kind of confusing revolutionary activity with personal activity, thinking that what you're supposed to do is essentially just, disconnect yourself from all of the systems of hierarchy as they exist. I think the social anarchist critique is actually that we are unable to disconnect ourselves from the systems of hierarchy as they exist, and we are forced to live within them. And that's sort of the problem, in fact. It's not about trying to personally disentangle yourself. It's about trying to, en masse, disentangle ourselves. Iridescence is here. I was just talking about you. Iridescence, you should give them your thoughts on One Dimensional Man. I know you were reading it at one point. Turbo Queer asks, speaking of Bookchin and Sanders, have you ever seen the essay Murray Bookchin wrote as a hit piece against Bernie Sanders? Yeah, I think I skimmed it back in like 2016 when Bernie was running. But at that point, I was like, basically all in for Bernie Sanders. And so I didn't really absorb it very much. I could read it again, but he was basically just saying that Bernie Sanders was insufficiently radical, that he ran on a very radical platform, presented himself as a democratic socialist, yet in practice just appeared to be kind of doing basic, democratic entryism and wasn't doing anything very transformative for Burlington. So I think that's pretty well the summary of what he was saying there. William Ham says, favorite movies? The first one that comes to mind is The Seven Samurai. I'm a huge fan of Akira Kurosawa. He's absolutely one of my favorite directors, and a bunch of his movies are on my favorite list. That's just the one that immediately comes to mind. I haven't really sat around and watched movies in quite a while, but yeah, I don't know. That's now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of any answers. The Godfather. The Godfather is incredible. The movie's not overrated. It's a perfect 10. The Godfather's a masterpiece. It deserves to be remembered as a masterpiece. Powis says, most ANCOMs I know want a transitional period, usually some form of market anarchism, between socialism and communism. How does the theory of means and ends fit into that? Well, I think what that is a recognition that we are not going to be able to just put communism directly into place. We are going to have to use the tools that we have available to us now to transform ourselves toward the sort of society that we'd like to see. And prefiguration says we need to build as much of that in the now as is conceivably possible, but we are not going to be able to build a direct distribution, decentrally planned economy within the current state of things. We are unfortunately going to have to interact with the global market system during this many decades that we will probably have to be transitioning towards our ideal future system. Insofar as there is a global market surrounding us, that will force us to sort of quantize the value of our goods by comparison to commodities in the outside world. And that will then create internal economies wherein we will be recognizing what does and does not make profit. And that recognition is very likely to drive the trade of things internally, knowing that they may eventually be traded externally. So that is just a problem that any movement faces that seeks to do immediate decommodification. And therefore, most anarchists, looking at the examples that we've seen in history of large-scale anarchist projects, recognize that there's probably going to have to be kind of a mixed economy in that sense. You're going to have decentral planning and direct distribution alongside some form of cooperative market system. And the cooperative market system will still be controlled by confederations of councils. However, it will indeed have to, take place in wage labor relations. It will indeed have to produce commodities for profit. However, the workplaces, the means of production will be owned by the workers, and they will be socialized insofar as that society abroad through confederations of councils will still own the means of production. So this allows us to undergo the transition if need be, because the cooperatives will still function under the power of the councils, meaning that the councils at some later date could then subsume these market components back into the council structures where the people have direct control. So that's kind of the idea of how this transition might take place. And we actually see a very good model of this in the CNTFAI controlled territories in Spain during the Spanish Civil War. Also, I might add, this is what the Zapatistas do. The Zapatistas have both fully decommodified aspects of their economy, and they have commodified aspects of their economy. So, like corn, for example, some amount of that is just distributed directly to people that need to eat, but the excesses are actually sold, and they use the income that they get from selling their corn in order to, reinvest in their community. So Slower Panther asks, have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon? It was so good. I have not. However, that would be a movie I would be very interested in seeing. Absolutely. Jacob responds, thank you for your words. My parents are both professors, and although we are very comfortable economically, our wealth does not come from exploitation. At least I see it that way. Is it right? Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I don't really see who a professor exploits. The best argument for a professor being an exploiter is just like how they interact with grad students. Grad students often do a lot of labor for professors, and often it is unpaid, but it is, usually subsidized in one sense or another through stipends that graduate students are given. I would say, this kind of matches a wage labor relation. However, I don't think it really has a whole lot in common with exploitation in the economy more broadly. And I don't think professors are being exploiters when they set up research groups with graduate students inside of them. Furthermore, I would say that professors are really not part of the bourgeois in that sense. They don't really own the means of production, and they don't really have any control over how the university functions. So, yeah, I don't really see a problem there. I don't think that professors should be seen as the bourgeois. I think that your friend thinks that just having money or being comfortable is somehow being a capitalist, when I don't think that's necessarily how this works. Bea asks, what do you think of the Venezuelan communes? Hugo Chavez, Venezuela's late leader, did advocate for the comunas. If you don't know, search it up. I find it very interesting. Yeah, actually, I think those are on a list of libertarian socialist projects that I have described before. That brings me to a point. I intended to talk about this at the very beginning of this live stream. So I have determined what the next series of videos I'm going to do is. And that is, I'll preface a little bit. Years ago, I made a Google document that is just a huge list of both historical and existing autonomous regions and horizontal movements. And it includes anarchist, libertarian socialist, and just broadly horizontalist movements. And I made a big list, and then I made a Twitter thread where I asked people to continue to contribute, and the list blew up really big. And that list, I realized, is great for me to make a video about. Like, at first, my idea was, I'm going to make a video where I just go over the list and I summarize each of them all in one big video. But then, that was the video I was planning on doing last night. Then I realized, actually, it would be better if I went down the list and made a video about each of the things on the list. And then it could be lots and lots of videos. And so the next video I intend on doing is going to be kind of that summary video where I'm just like, here's the list, here's the kind of all the different projects and where they are. Now keep tuning in and I'll go over each of these in time, each getting their own video. And the only reason why I didn't do that last night is because I realized I don't really have a name for the series yet. And I would like to get all of your input on things I could add to that list before I begin. So I'm still kind of trying to think of a name for the series. Like right now, I'm toying with the name Liberation in Action. So I'm going to link that list. If you'll give me just a moment, I will find it. I will link it to the chat. And then I will also put it in the video description for anybody who's listening to this after I have done this. Oh, it's having a problem here. There we go. That'll fix. Okay, make a copy. Okay, I'm making a copy of it, and I'm just going to let y'all be able to edit it. That's my plan here. Anyone with the link can edit, and I'm just going to let y'all add stuff as you please. So give me just a moment. I'll put it in chat. Boom, there it is in chat. And then let me add it to the video description. There we go. So you can go look at that and, see if you're wanting to contribute one, you can go see if it's already on the list. And if it's not, you can just add it because the version that I just linked you is able to be edited by anyone. So also note for anybody looking at it, it is formatted really weird. It's in a double column format. So if you type to the end of the page, it wants to jump you up into the next column. But the way I've done it is I've continued the columns onto the next page. So just kind of like be careful that you don't mess the formatting up like that. Yeah, I can see lots of people have already accessed this. Wow, it's like 25 people just instantly started contributing to it. Yeah, some people are already